right? Let's hear about a journey and the great innovation that they're doing with us. So please come on stage, Ben, who is the CEO of Base. Welcome, Ben. Hey, Ben, thank you.
Good to see you.
Likewise. All right, so Ben, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Ben Foakes. I'm the founder and CEO of Base. And watching the intro by Kevin was really resonating with me because I come from a background in sport and sports media. So around 25 years ago, I was a professional BMXer and spent my years touring the world in competition and filming video content and then editing that and distributing it at the time on VHS tape, if you remember what that was. And that led to a career in high-end broadcast editing for sport, so things like Formula One were one of our clients at the time. And I was the guy in the truck making those highlight shows manually, working till midnight. So if you ever watched it when it was on ITV, that was me in the background. In that period of my life, I had a post-production company where we did hardware-based manual creative work. So we would edit TV shows, we would do the color grading, the visual effects. Great time, but very expensive, bound to physical buildings, bound to spiky project-based income streams. And I managed to get that company off the ground and run it for about 9 years and hit a brick wall. Wasn't working out, had to sell it to a listed group. But that taught me so much, and at the time I started to experiment with what would the media industry look like if it all moved to the cloud. And this was very early. This is when kind of AWS was fairly embryonic.
Yeah.
So I was pitching to clients saying, wouldn't it be great if we could move your editing, your visual effects, and all of your storage of your movies into data centers? And I would get laughed out of the room. People too bound to their tapes and hard drives. And so we launched Base. So we're now 9 years old, 10 years officially since our first private data center, but 9 years trading with clients. And we've been an IBM partner for 7 of those 9 years. And the way I would summarize what we do is we provide a central data hub, very similar to the stuff you talked about already, where media teams within big enterprises, and the reason I say that is we don't work anymore with the kind of traditional production companies, we're working with big enterprises, so banks, gaming studios, movie studios, that type of thing. We allow them to reposit their data into a central secure hub, all ISO 27001 compliant, and then we bridge that service into various cloud environments so we can run all the different complex workloads that they need to make their content completely virtually. And you guys are a really cool partner in that stack.
Oh, thank you for doing that, and thank you for being a great partner and client. All right, Ben, so we saw such a great example in the Wimbledon, right? And as clients and companies embrace AI to transform, like you kind of hinted at this, right? Like security, compliance, kind of clients you're serving, right? Data sovereignty, particularly for these industries, through the lens of your work at Base, can you kind of set the scene on thoughts of that, hybrid by design and why those characteristics are important for your end clients?
Yeah, I'll actually wind it back a little bit. So there's a lot of hype around AI, I'm sure you'll be aware. Just in our sector, there's over 700 different software companies that have popped up in the last 2 years purporting to provide these revolutionary services, and a lot of it's rubbish. So the number one problem that all of our clients have is their data is typically spread around the world on hard drives, in boxes, logged on spreadsheets. No one knows where it is. So the most common issue is how do you centralize and rationalize that data? And typically the first thing we'll do is go in and help them do that. You can't leverage all these cool tools and hybrid by design architectures unless you've got your data sorted.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. Then we get it into the secure, compliant storage environment, and then we build on that. And that's where we then go down the hybrid architecture route. But to give you a really good end customer example, we're jointly the media cloud provider for Lad Bible Group. They're AIM listed, went public about a year ago, I think, and really cool company. They're like Britain's kind of outstanding social media video brand. Followers all around the world, and we've helped them connect their offices in New York, Manchester, London, all into IBM Cloud to mirror, back up and archive their data. And then we've integrated their base platform with Adobe so they can collaborate around the world and publish their data back in. And they went through that whole journey from going through the cupboards trying to find stuff, right the way through to full transformation.
Great example. All right, now, I know we were talking a little earlier, and you are like the poster child when it comes to a hybrid multi-cloud deployment with at least the clients you serve, your own assets, to meet the client needs. How have you kind of managed this journey? I mean, you talked about this 7-8 year journey with us, but how have you kind of leveraged your decision making on-prem, the IBM cloud, you have some AWS and other clouds, to kind of really meet your modernization, your innovation needs, and your sustainability needs?
It's been really, really hard. When I started the company, it was me and one junior engineer on the kitchen table with no money. So it's been a really long journey, but what we've basically done is solve customer problems. So we didn't set out with this huge complex design. We went out to market and figured out what these clients were trying to do, and then we've connected the right tools together to do the job. And we're a great believer in business problem first, followed by solution. We don't like selling widgets, and kind of allergic to it. So that's our approach. The way that we do it now, as a much more mature business, we have a fantastic team of specialist certified cloud systems engineers. I've got the guys and girls that built the Disney Cloud, for example, Warner Brothers, all these big brands, and they've come to Base because they like what we're doing. And we basically choose the right tool for the job. So we will do the initial analysis and design thinking workshops with the client, figure out their use case. Then we'll look at the market, recommend the right tools for the job, and then we'll get our engineering team to design, build, and manage that cloud. But yeah, it is very complex, but there's much cleverer people than me that do the work.
Now, I know you were telling me earlier that kind of through this journey with clients, it's also kind of planning, right? It's the planning of, here's your journey, here are your landing zones, here are the requirements of those workloads, and this is where the right appropriate landing zones, depending on kind of the outcome you're trying to drive. That needs thought, right? We've gone from the age of, we just line a business team spinning up cloud assets to a much more thoughtful, landing zone centric thinking and workload centric thinking on this kind of cloud journey. So it's, come a long way, and it sounds like you're pioneering that. All right, so we talked a little bit about your journey. We talked about the hybrid multi-cloud kind of state that you're in. Let's talk a little bit about future, right? I know you've started playing around with the Watson X, some POCs on the Watson X platform, a little bit about maybe the use cases for the clients you're trying to serve, and also maybe some examples of, you're basically a service provider, right? You have some really heavy-duty regulated clients. So just, both assets, both generative AI and use cases, and then what kind of clients you're serving.
Okay, so just to quickly explain what we do more clearly, if you imagine a wheel and in the middle of it, the data hub, we provide all of the tooling connected to that hub wrapped as a managed service. So it's fully ISO compliant to your point, fully supported 24/7, and in a similar term to what Kevin used, it's like a single pane of glass into your cloud tooling. One component of that has always been AI since there were mature enough AI products to deploy. So we actually, with IBM, Veritone and Base, we deployed one of the first ever AI workloads for Formula E racing back in 2017. And what we did was we did all the machine learning stuff to train the models on facial recognition of the drivers and the TV presenters, the logos on the cars, deliveries, etc., to scan the dialogue and actually automatically make subtitles of the commentary. And that was running for many, many years. So we've been doing it a long time. Latterly, what's happened in the last couple of years with the mad hype around Gen AI, we've been getting a lot more inquiries. Mm-hmm. But the fundamentals remain the same, that you've got to have a business case. Mm-hmm. So the number of meetings I've been in the last 12 months where people have said, what's your Gen AI strategy? When can we buy it? And I just say, what's your use case, please? Exactly. But I've got some really good ones. So we have a client right now, it's a global brand, I can't mention the name, but over 100 subsidiary parts of the business. and we're about to move into the cloud. It's going to be a huge 3-year project. And the reason they're doing it is their content is spread everywhere and they don't know how to search for it. Right? So the biggest part of the initiative is to enrich that media library with searchable data. They want to be able to do natural language-based search to find content based on the context of what's in it. Totally different way of searching for material, and it's going to speed up their distribution no end. We have another client who's looking at how to do automatic video editing and clipping and getting stuff out very quickly, kind of like your Wimbledon highlights, but for more drama and documentary and high-end stuff like that. And as a company, to your point about what's next, about 3 months ago, we got our head of product development, Jack Watts, to start an initiative to experiment with the What's Next platform. And we've actually already built our first version of a media assistant chatbot. So our clients can actually, when we launch in GA, they'll be able to search for advice against a particular service, and it will just give them exactly what they need to know. Nice. So instead of parsing through a whole knowledge base and trying to find that paragraph, it would just be an instant response. It's kind of like first-line support.
Great. Well, Ben, thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for being an amazing client and a partner.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ben.